Okay, do I have your attention now? Hey, so I've had the yucky opportunity of participating in the media beta for the Fruma update, aka the biggest update in Minecraft history. And instead of doing all the cool content, doing all the quests, exploring the region, doing all that type of stuff, I've been sitting in my housing for the past few days. And all I've been doing is been reading abilities. I've been testing them. I've basically been an intern to my AT friend. He tells me to go test something, and then I go test something. And during this time, I've found some crazy things, and I'm gonna show them to you now because there's a high chance that these things are just removed in the actual beta or for the update because I forwarded all of these to the AT because I think they were broken. So good chance that if you're watching this in the future, the builds I show and the trees I show are not a thing anymore or just heavily changed. So first thing I want to show is Trickster. Trickster, in my opinion, was already like a top 3 archetype in the game, and with the introduction of page 8, Trickster got probably one of the strongest ones. So let's go over the nodes. First we have Doppel. That's not how you spell that. We have Doppelganger, which summons one additional mirror clone with mirror image. Now this doesn't sound that crazy since you already have like 6 of them with aspect, duplicity, and mirror image, but every extra mirror clone adds a lot to the kit. The kit kind of just feeds into itself in both like damage and sustainability. It's kind of insane, and you're gonna see that. Next up we have Paranoia. Not much to say about this node. It's a really nice QL. It's a really nice node. I'm glad this is a thing. It helps for TNA and just chasing bosses in general. And it lasts for 4 seconds, so that's pretty sick. And next we have Disappearing Act, which is basically a Trickster Bodyust. After using all your mirror clones, create an explosion, and next time you enter vanish, and does 800% of your DPS. So yeah, it's either just Bodyust, except you probably trigger this way more than you do on Fallen probably. Since a Bodyust you do at the end of your corrupt cycle, and that usually takes like, well, it depends on the sustain of the build, but let's say like 10 seconds. It varies. But you get a Bodyust after like 10 seconds, and it's the equivalent of like 2 uppercuts. But this you get pretty often, as you'll see very soon. Air debuff, Choke Bomb. I don't use this for my build because I already have all the debuffs I need to max out Noxious Gas, and I also don't do air damage very. Hi, post-editing Winsell here. Something that I forgot to mention that it's kind of important actually about this node is the fact that it's a debuff that does not require any amount of tricks to activate. So when you're trying to set up your tricks in the first place, this one can contribute to Noxious Gas. It's one of only like 2 debuffs on Trickster that can do this, with the other being Defragate. Important thing to mention about Trickster, one of the main ways that people played it was Trick Shade. Yeah, that's probably dead now. And that's because, where is it? Marks are now mutually exclusive with Noxious Gas, which is pretty important since both of these, Marks and Noxious Gas, are extremely powerful forms of multiplicative damage that you would stack on Trick Shade together. And now you can only grab one or the other, which might kill Trick Shade. I'm not sure. I haven't tried out other trees. You still do get 5 extra AP from the jump to 120, so you could maybe do something with that. I haven't really messed around with it too much though, and I don't really see too much else you could crosspath with because some of the other nodes that you would grab are really high AP, or I don't think they provide enough value compared to what you could do on pure Trickster. Showcase the build. First, I'm going to do that just so I can farm up my tricks. That way I can show you how much damage this does when it's like fully set up. The setup doesn't take too long normally when you're playing Trickster. Each multi-hit from your mirror clone adds 1 trick. So you only need about maybe like 3 multi-hits. It depends on your aspect and your tree. You only need like a few multi-hits to get to 30 tricks, which is all you need in order to get the max debuffs you need for Noxious. Alright, next thing I have to show you is Fallen. So, Fallen, I didn't really do anything too crazy. I mean, I just playing bog standard bash upper Fallen with a tree that's like really easy to figure out, but I wanted to showcase it anyways. Also, to complain a little bit about one thing in particular. So you see this Fallen ult, it requires 15 Fallen points. Here's the thing, Fallen, if you want to grab this ult and you're playing spell, you have to grab either Quad Bash, which is bad for you since it decreases the damage on Bash, or you have to waste AP on Massacre into Mania Slaughter, or you have to grab the new node, which is also a melee ability that doesn't do anything if you're on Spell Fallen. So that does stink a bit. I mean, I hope the rec is reduced by 1. That way Spell Fallen can take it without having to grab a random ass node that you don't want. Because I literally take every other Fallen node that you physically can. I take this, I take both Masteries, I take Fireworks, I grab literally everything, but I can't grab it. So just minor grievance. Alright, talk about page 8 though. First note is Rumble, which increases bash damage by 5% per 1 AoE it has. Bash by itself has a decent amount of AoE, but it gets juiced up further by Massive Bash, which did get a nerf. I think before it was like 10 blocks it could go up to, but now it was 0 to max plus 4, which is a pretty big nerf, but I mean, you don't need that much AoE. It was a little bit silly how much kill aura Fallen got. I mean, plus 4 is still a pretty big amount, especially when you consider you also have the aspect that increases bash AoE. So I think it's fine. I think it's a very fair nerf. And speaking of nerfs, I should probably mention that really quick. If you get Bakal's Grasp, War Scream no longer grants resistance, which I think is a good change overall, because it was kind of weird that Fallen had any bit of support aspect in general, and it gives like another bit of a trade-off, right? If you go for Corrupt, you don't get that extra bit of resistance. Speaking of resistance, Mantles got a resistance nerf from -70 to -50, and then the plus 20% was put into a different Paladin node. I think this is a pretty good change because Mantles are pretty fucking broken if you crosspath and grab them on different archetypes. I don't think it's as bad now. It's on Fallen. I don't think you should grab Mantles because page 8 gives you so much damage. I think if you grab Mantles still, you're kind of a chud. Sacred Surge was also made mutually exclusive with Bloodlust. Bloodlust you need to take in order to path down to node that I can't read that's important for your sustain, as well as the rest of page 8. So if you take Sacred Surge, you kind of use out on a bunch of other stuff that's not really worth it anymore, which I think is a good thing. Alright, back to the page 8 nodes, we have XC, which is just a damage increase the cap on a raised BO, and increase Bloodlust damage. We have we have the melee node, but I mean you can read that for yourself. I'm not going to be using it. I'm playing spell right now. Speaking of melee Fallen, I think it probably goes crazy with these new changes, but I don't have a build to try it. I don't have an Alcatraz, and I don't play tier stack. So someone else, you can go try that for yourself. And then next up we have Spectacle, which increases the damage on Fireworks and Comet. So I'm gonna just show you. This is a pretty bog standard bash upper bash. I don't fucking know. Call it whatever you want. I don't care. Fallen build. And there we go. So at the end of my Bloodlust, my dummy ended up at like 1.1 mil. I don't know how much damage the total burst is since Windtails doesn't work with the beta, so I don't have my DPS tracker. But I mean that's a pretty noticeable damage increase compared to what I'm doing with the same build on the Hive. So Fallen is probably going to be pretty good. Does a lot of damage, and the damage is a lot more deserved now, I think. Anyways, the next thing I want to show you is not something that's like broken in the strength department, but broken in the I can't fucking play the game department. And that is the Riftwalker rework, which is amazing, by the way, in my opinion. Out of all the recent reworks, I think the Riftwalker rework is probably one of my favorite ones. Unfortunately, I don't have a real build to test it because I don't play mage. I don't have real mage items. So I'm going to have to turn on infinite mana for this one. So just ignore any of the damage I do because it's not a real build. I'm not going to read through the whole tree. I'll save that for a different video. But basically, new resource called Distortion. You get that when you teleport through a mob and when you main attack. Ignore the ball. And then depending on how much Distortion you have, your spells get extra effects. So my Ice Snake has Tornadoes and my Meteor does 2 Meteors. I just missed. The final red node, let me show that off to you really quick. It lets you do this. Giant ball, and it follows you. Very cool. Alright. And you might be looking at this right now and be like, oh wow, that's a lot of VFX. I can't fucking see anything. Trust me, it was way worse before. Hey gamer. So can you join my housing?
See this, bro.
If this isn't important, I'm going to shove my entire foot up your ass.
No, you don't understand.
I just got out of bed.
No,
this is the funniest thing I've ever
seen. It's fucking crazy, bro.
Alright, gamer, you ready for this? Watch this, watch this. Hold on.
Okay.
Alright, see this ball?
What the fuck? What is this? What is this?
This update will improve FPS, guys.
Oh god, I can't see anything.
That's not an ultimate, by the way. That's a red node. Now, there's other things in the beta that I found and discovered. A lot of it was bugs or wacky VFX that probably need to get changed. I also gave feedback on a lot of different abilities. But the last thing I want to show you is the most broken thing that I found during my beta. Because the thing with Trickster is, I already knew that shit was broken. And then when I saw page 8 was good, I was like, oh, okay. So it's just more broken now. Fallen, it's just more broken now, right? I mean, that's pretty simple. I didn't need to discover that. But what I found here It's quite silly. You see, Mr. AT Sport, my manager, he went up to me and was like, "Hey, Mr. Wintel, my intern, get me a cup of coffee. Also, can you test Akayite for me?" And I said, "Okay, sir." And I came back in 10 minutes with a monstrosity. So, on Shaman, there's this playstyle called Aura Spam. It's normally played on Summoner since that archetype gets 4 totems and it has an ability called Invigorating Wave, which makes it so that your totem, your auras, give you 2 mana, right? So you have 4 totems, you cast 1 aura, you get 8 mana, right? Sounds great. You just spam the fuck out of it. Thing is, with Fruma came a mini Ritualist rework, which might have gutted Aura Spam. So all the masks are now condensed into one node called Mystic Masks, and their effects are weakened, and also the spell cost reduction was put into a different node. Unitic Mask used to be 35%, I think, at base, and now it's only 15%, and the aura cost reduction is now moved into this node over here. So if you want to get the same effect as before, you'd have to spend a bunch of AP to path through Ritualist to grab that, and you also use that on a lot of damage you had before. So Aura Spam is probably significantly weaker, maybe even like kind of cooked as a playstyle now. Thing is, this change also affects Akayite, since Akayite would also grab Unitic Mask since it gave a shit ton of damage, and well, it reduces aura cost. That's kind of broken, right? So I didn't take it, right? Because I looked at how much AP that you need for it now. I thought this is not worth it, and I took a look at page 8 of Akayite. Starting with the first node, Rupture. So what this does is it boosts the aura damage from Sacrificial Shrine, and it consumes up to 3 seconds of bleeding to instantly deal the damage it would have dealt. So to understand how this works, Sacrificial Shrine will drain blood, and you spend a bit of blood to get a stronger aura that also heals you and allies, right? But the thing is, before, you didn't really want to spam this. Even if you had a bunch of blood pool, you would not spam aura, and that's because of this node right here. Rebound, which makes it so that aura bounces back a second time. And if you cast aura while rebound is still ongoing, then it will just cancel the rebound, right? So it wasn't very good to spam it if you had rebound, right? But Rupture, it just instantly deals the damage. And then we also have Repulse, which is rebound, but a third time. And then our next node is Fuse. Flaming Tongue grants 1% blood pool. So Flaming Tongue was normally pretty ignored on Akayite since it's this, if you grab Unitic Mask, you can't use Flaming Tongue. And Flaming Tongue was basically just a damage spell, right? And with Ashing Ants, it gives it a bit more utility and increases damage. So it adds an extra hit, and it also makes it so that each hit of Flaming Tongue applies bleeding. Now this is very important, right? Because with Fuse, Flaming Tongue grants blood pool. So Flaming Tongue grants both bleeding and blood pool, which is coincidentally both the things you need for Rupture. So the idea is, if you spam enough Flaming Tongue to get blood pool and bleeding, you can spam a shit ton of boosted auras that are also instantly doing the damage of several auras because of rebound and repulse. I think that's how that works. I'm not completely sure if Rupture does the full double and third aura. If it does, it'd be broken. I'm not sure. I'm going to just pretend it does. And then I'm also going to be combining this with Double Totem for even faster blood pool generation. And now for the rest of the nodes, I'm not really using them for this build. We have Bloodiest, which I just don't really need. It increases blood pool and max bleeding duration. Max bleeding duration is not important because I'm not going to have that much bleeding because I'm going to be constantly filling it up and then using it up. And same thing with blood pool. And then this word that I cannot pronounce boosts the damage on Blood Sorrow, but I'm not going to be using Blood Sorrow since it takes up too much blood pool and it does not do as much damage compared to the bullshit I'm about to do. Finally, we have the ultimate. The ultimate is garbage. The ultimate is pretty bad. It takes a lot of charge, and all it really does is just give you blood pool or health. So it's not great, and it only has 15 seconds. So it does not really help you at all. So I'm not grabbing that, and I'm not using it. Another thing that's important to mention is I'm grabbing Field Healing, which increases my healing based on the amount of water damage I have. The reason I bring this up is because I'm using Hit All. There might be a better weapon out there to use than Hit All and a better build that I'm using, because my build is like giga cooked. I have 138 mana regen, and let me tell you, 138 mana regen is not enough, and that's because Hit All increases the cost on Aura and Uproot, which are the main spells I'm going to be using. But I mean, I can't be asked to make a better build, so I'm using this, and as you'll see, this is kind of silly enough as is. Alright, now to show you the build in action. So put down 2 totems. When you have enough blood pool, you're going to cast Eldritch Call. I'm going to cast Curse and just spam the shit out of Flaming Tongue and Aura. The sustain is kind of cooked, as you saw. The build can definitely be optimized so that I don't need 138 mana regen. But even though my totems ran out and I ran out of mana to cast, I got all my mana back basically instantly, and I could just repeat the process again. And also remember that all those auras I'm casting are also healing me and anybody that steps into it for basically full HP, because it's doing the healing instantly, and also because I have field healing. And I'm also providing support through Vengeful Spirit as well as Eldritch Call, which gives minus resistance. So I'm making my team do more damage, I'm healing them, and I'm also shitting out damage. And as you can see, my mana basically back already. I could just do this again. And this gets a little bit weird when you put on sorcery. Time Rift is a little bit jank. It can recast totems, and I noticed it even does that in Eldritch Call, which cancels it. But it also does a lot of things that are good for you. For one, it can recast Flaming Tongue, and that Flaming Tongue will also get you Blood Pool. If it would please recast. There we go. As you can see, it just recasted. So that's free Blood Pool. And it can also recast your auras, I'm pretty sure. The super boosted ones. So let me just get Curse really quick and just show you. But yeah, that's about everything that I want to show off. I did find a bunch of other things during the beta, but those are mainly bug fixes or just random miscellaneous VFX stuff. So I won't really be talking about those too much. I just wanted to show some of the cool abilities and fucked up builds that I've been playing in their beta. I look forward to Fruma a lot, though I don't look forward to how busy I'm going to be with a page 8 on every single archetype and ultimates. The amount of video ideas I have just quadrupled, and I already had a lot of ideas, so I'm never going to run out of video ideas, literally ever. I'm stuck. I'm in a prison. I'm in jail. Please help me.